Were you worried, as your wife was, about the possibility that you might get drawn back in and want to wrestle more? You know, you've already just said that you were obviously very conscious of the cosmetic side of the business, that you didn't look like you used to.
Yeah.
Was there a concern that you might be driven back towards steroids or any of that?
Yeah, I think there was always that sort of, you know, and I think that's why she made me promise it was a one time only deal. And obviously, the thing is as well, is once you've been away from the business for so long and you've quit and you've been stayed away, it's just not sometimes not the way you want it to be. You don't remember it, but on the flip side, and the counter argument is that it never goes away. There's always that burning enjoyment of doing it, you know. And you know, I don't care as long as I'm part of the show. I'm there. I'm happy, you know. I couldn't really be one of these guys. I've never been to a wrestling show as a fan because all I want to do is be part of the show, you know, part of the production.
So after that one-off show, it did turn out to be a one-off show. You haven't wrestled since.
No.
What were you doing with your life for the rest of sort of 2007, 2008?
Obviously, I mean, I was living a married life. You know, I had a son that was born, so he's 4 years old now. So, and he's got ADHD, so I spent a lot of time looking after him. And most of my time was I'd moved as well. I moved from London to Sussex. I moved because my job was at the airport, so I moved from Heathrow down to Gatwick. So I had to settle in there. So basically all I was doing was working and eating and sitting on the computers, basically. Just sitting on the computer on Facebook, you know. And that was it, nothing, you know.
Were you content with your life, or was it?
No, I was not content. I don't think, you know, myself or my wife were content, you know. She come from, you know, sort of a bit more of a not party lifestyle, but, you know, she comes from a big family, and, you know, I love their family to death and they've always accepted me, but I found them maybe at times being a bit overbearing, and I couldn't deal with that because I'm still a private person, again, with my confidence issues, and not having nothing to do. The old insecurities come way back, my shyness started coming in, you know, and to want a better word as well, my wife, you know, I didn't have the wrestling, you know, she always thought I was eyeing girls up and looking at girls, and you know, she'd always have to go, "Why are you looking at her for? Do you fancy her?" And it got to a point where I was so sick and tired of being able to go at that I became a total recluse. You know, I'd shut my way from society. I wouldn't look at anyone. So no, I wasn't the person I used to be. I was a real shell of myself, and you know, as I said, I have some massive confidence issues.
I mean, the thing with what you just said about relationships with women, you know, in terms of women in the crowd when you're wrestling, is an interesting subject because it's part of your job to sell yourself in a sense to the crowd. And what I mean by that is, you know, to flirt with them and make them enjoy their night out. So that must be another issue for married life.
I think so, yeah. I mean, obviously, when you took it to a few shows, and you know, you get the women that have known you from the past, and you know, whether you've messed around with them or not, of course they want to come and talk to you, and you know, someone that's totally alien to the wrestling environment doesn't really know what's going on. When they say, "Well, who's she? You know, why is she coming to talk to you? What have you done with her?" And you know, I could have done nothing but just been friendly. And like I said, you know, part of the wrestling game, you know, when you're looking doing the show, you know, to the kids you're trying to be superheroes to them, you know, and you know, to any fella that comes along, you're trying to be an athlete towards them, you know, to give them that thing. And you know, to the women, yeah, you're flirting with them, you know, you want to be desired by them. So when you've done that for 17 years, it's really hard not to just stop it and not speak to anyone. So obviously I'd still be speaking to, you know, some of the old ladies, some of the ladies like I used to, you know, sort of a bit flirting with them. But knowing full well all it was a bit of harmless flirting. But as I said, when you do it to someone that's not been in the business, they're not going to see it that way, and that put an immense strain on my relationship.
So obviously let's go back to where we were. It's 2007, 2008. You are having some difficulties in your marriage, and you know, sitting, as you said, at the airport on Facebook all day, would you say while you were bored, you were specifically thinking about wrestling? You know, was it a constant temptation that you'd want to get back into it, or were you just looking for something, anything?
Yeah, I suppose I was looking for something. You know, I need something to fulfil my life. But of course, yeah, the wrestling was always there. You know, and I've been to a few of Premier shows, done a few bit of works for them, but it was never the same because I wanted to be competing. I wanted to be wrestling, and I'd always, when I'd be on the computer, be on Facebook, but I'd also speaking to wrestling friends. I'd be looking at the wrestling forums, and I'd sometimes spend all night on them and totally ignore it. So the same old feel came along. I needed something because again, to live the life I was living, it just wasn't. I wasn't fulfilled. It really wasn't. And to be honest with you, I suppose looking in hindsight, because my retirement was never really meant to be permanent, but I felt she pushed me into permanent retirement. I always resented her for it.
And of course, all of this came to a head on, of all days, Valentine's Day this year.
Well, this is it. I mean, obviously, Valentine's Day, things weren't right over Christmas. I'd been in trouble at work, so, I was off work. So I was quite depressed, and it was spiralling out, but I wasn't admitting it to myself, so I didn't really admit that I was depressed. And I think it just got to a point where she felt she'd been ignored for too long. Our lives were going different ways, and we separated. And within that same month as well, I lost my job at the airport, so I got hit by a massive double whammy. And this was the thing, when my other marriage split up, I had my job and I had my wrestling as a constant. This time, I had absolutely nothing to fall back on, and I went spiralling out of control into depression, absolutely spiralling.
Not to get too personal, but to someone who's never had that kind of experience, to go through depression like that, how dark is the place you find yourself in?
Well, when you're thinking about going to bed and not waking up in the morning, you've hit rock bottom. And that's the point I got to. I just got to the point where, do you know what? If I wasn't around, who would miss me? And I went to bed not hoping not to wake up. And it just got to a point where, you got to admit to yourself, and you got to go and get help. And I went to see my doctor, and obviously they said I was quite bad, and immediately we put me on antidepressants. My blood pressure was spiraling out of control as well. And obviously it had a bit of a course of action. They said, well, first thing, Phil, you got to put some positive things back in your life. You've had quite a bit of change in your life recently, not good change, and it's not easy. And I've been there before, and and obviously when I told them the way I was thinking, they knew I was in serious need of help, and